Shooter Breeze topic number 3 says Trump's militarization of the Caribbean. This came with several links. We're going to work our way through all of them. Hopefully, you guys can see my screen. I know my computer ain't been working well at all. I'm going to have to share that again because apparently I lost audio. Hold on. Let me share my screen again. All right. So I'm sure by now you guys heard about this. Can you guys see my screen? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see it. You can see you can see what I'm sharing. Okay. All right, my computer is just doing crazy stuff. So this is from Camilla Report. The United States murdered 2 men from Trinidad and Tobago in yesterday's U.S. strike on a boat in the Caribbean Sea. It says during the fake anti-drug military operations against Venezuela. So we'll watch these videos, and after we've watched all the attachments, we'll comment on it.
2 men believed to be Trinbagonians were killed in the latest U.S. drone strike of Venezuelan waters. And now Alasqueva's family is demanding answers.
They say Chad Joseph wasn't a trafficker, just a young man trying to come home. Jensen Levent went to the fishing village to speak with the family.
Like most of the men gathered here at the Las Cuevas fishing depot, Chad Joseph was a fisherman. Both his relatives and residents are denying strenuously that he was involved in drug trafficking. They say his killing was unjust.
When Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar said the United States should kill alleged drug dealers violently, no citizen was listed among the dead. On the U.S.'s 5th airstrike, Trinidadians Chad Joseph and another man identified only as Samaru were among 6 people killed on Tuesday, taking the number of alleged narco traffickers killed by the U.S. since September 2nd to 27. Joseph's grandfather, Cornell Clement, who denied his grandson was a drug trafficker, says he has no choice but to trust in God. Now he questions the U.S.'s method of dealing with the situation.
I watch at it as wickedness. So why we killing people children for? They're not meant that yet. It's supposed to be that way.
You say he was a drug trafficker, like he was.
No. The boy ain't no drug trafficker. It make them run and come back.
Joseph's grandmother, Christine, says her grandson was in Venezuela for the past 3 months and wanted desperately to return home, but his previous attempts failed.
Before time he was coming, they shoot up the boat. He ended up surviving on some little beach, and some people take care of him because I talked to him and I talked to one of the ladies too. And the second time I heard he come in, I get his mother 2 days ago. I asked her. She told me he must come in and something with the boat again. So he go back.
A short distance away, residents of Las Cuevas village stopped because one man expressed views of Joseph's killing.
What the U.S. doing there? I think it's inhumane, right? If all they really, all right, all they blow the boat up, what evidence it have showing really is drugs, and stuff like that. Like we say, is guns, or even say is human trafficking, anything. You can. What is the closure the family having now?
Calls and messages to the Prime Minister and Defense Minister Wayne Sturge went unanswered. Months ago, Sturge said during a post-cabinet media briefing that any Trini fisherman caught doing illegal activity was on their own. Foreign Affairs Minister
All right, that might have got a little choppy at the end there, right? The next attachment takes us to this tweet called Breakthrough News. It says over 300 additional U.S. Marines have arrived in Puerto Rico as part of Trump's growing militarization of the Caribbean and the waters near Venezuela. The buildup includes deployments of fighter jets, naval vessels, and large-scale military exercises in Puerto Rico. Trump continues to carry out extrajudicial bombings in the Caribbean high seas. He has authorized the CIA to conduct lethal operations in Venezuela, and the U.S. has even drawn up plans for potential strikes inside the country. This video is just a simple video, but I'll play it. It's really just showing U.S. Marines arriving in Puerto Rico, or Royal Puerto Rico, on 10/16/25. Just from this one boat, you can see the number of Marine equipment being toted on Puerto Rico. This problem comes with another clip. You guys should be able to see. It says Grenada witnessed a collective protest against U.S. military intervention in the Caribbean, South America. This came with this short clip. Sorry, I guess the clip has no sound. Didn't realize that. But you see, no to Caribbean invasion. This is in Grenada. It says stand up, sweet, sweet Grenada. Stand up against the robber, I think it said. So protests in Grenada, which was actually good to see as well, because if you remember, what was that, 81, Reagan invaded Grenada, which is in close proximity, relatively speaking, to Venezuela. Another clip that's shared from this prompt says protests outside U.S. Embassy in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. The Assembly of Caribbean People denounces extrajudicial killings at sea and rejects the United States' use of Caribbean countries as a military staging ground to attack Venezuela. This comes with a video as well. I know this one has sound. I guess the sound isn't playing. All right, hold on a second. This one is important, so let me send this one to Jack, see if Jack could play it for me on his end. Yeah, my browser lost sound. Jack, I just sent it to you in the private chat. Can you play that for us?
Yeah, stand by.
Yes, sir.
Today is that collective day of action, and I could report that there are people in Aruba, Barbados, Belize, Cuba, Curacao, Dominica, Grenada, Guadeloupe, Guyana, Haiti, Jamaica, Martinique, Puerto Rico, Republic of Dominica, Dominican Republic, St. Lucia, St. Martin, St. Vincent, Suriname, as well as us here in Trinidad and Tobago, who are doing something to make this collective call for the Caribbean to be a zone of peace. This declaration was a call to the people of the Caribbean that we must stand firm, that the Caribbean must remain a zone of peace, that there should be no U.S. intervention. We declared that the sovereignty of the nation states of our region is not and must not be up for sale, that regional unity and integration are crucial to our development and survival in the context of a changing global order, and therefore call on CARICOM heads of government to meet urgently on this emerging situation and to adopt a unified position against this unilateral military deployment by the U.S. We denounce the so-called creation by the U.S. of an international coalition against narco-trafficking, as it is a seed of an alliance of a minority of states in this hemisphere that will be used to create some cloak of legality under the OAS to intervene in Venezuela, as was attempted and failed through the so-called Lima Group. And we further call on these governments not to allow the US to use their countries as a military staging point to attack any sovereign state, and in this instance, Venezuela. We denounce the extrajudicial killings that the US claimed it carried out of 11, of course that now has gone up to more than 27, suspected narco traffickers, and insist that the stopping of the trafficking of drugs, humans and arms must be done through interdiction and the legal process, with the criminals tried in courts of law and convicted on the basis of evidence seized. And we deplore the statements made that they should, quote, all be killed violently, as contrary to the rule of law, and thus which could take us down a slippery slope of giving the state the license to kill arbitrarily. The designation by the US, without providing a shred of evidence that the president of Venezuela is the head of a narco-trafficking gang, is part of the well-known operation to discredit and delegitimize a leader or country. The US has no moral authority to speak about narco-trafficking when it was engaged in precisely such activity to finance the violent civil wars in El Salvador and Nicaragua in the 1980s that resulted in many tens of thousands of people being killed, among other well-documented activities. Nor does it have any moral authority to speak about peace when it is complicit in the genocide of Palestinians today and of many other crimes against humanity through the years. The sovereignty of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela must be respected, and that therefore we oppose any military intervention by the US or any other state in Venezuela.
All right. Should be topic number 3, Trump's militarization of the Caribbean. When folks talk about fleeing the Caribbean and Africa and all these places, I really think people don't understand what they're referring to. But with that said, and by the way, thanks Jack and Dara for playing that video. Let me start off with Black Steel on this one. Black Steel, what say you?
Man. We are living in interesting times. We really are. So the United States wants to go to war with Venezuela, right? One thing about history, they say history does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And we're starting to see some of the United States has all the signs of a dying empire, right? And the United States itself is only 250 years old next year, right? So the United States is already showing the signs of collapse within on itself, right? So they want to go to war with Venezuela, and they're trying to provoke the Venezuelans into an attack, and that includes bombing their citizens, attacking shipping and boats, or anything else like that, because they want to be able to claim to be the injured party. They claim to be going after drug traffickers, right? But I don't ever see them going after the big pharmaceutical companies that all these white people who are addicted to opioids have been dealing with. But they want to go after so-called narco terrorists in Venezuela, and it's all a part of the attack to start war with the Venezuela, because Venezuela has the world's second largest oil reserves after Saudi Arabia. So they want their oil, and they're going to go after their oil because the United States as a country is not doing well. The economy is falling apart, and what's happening is they want to manufacture consent. And the manufacturer consent by saying, "Oh, these people are smuggling drugs that are killing our citizens." That's the tale they want to tell. Now, how do we know these people are drug traffickers? Do they have evidence? Have we conducted a trial? No, Trump just says so. J.D. Vance just says so. So we kill him. And this is in clear violation of international law. But international law carries no weight. The United States is a rogue state. It is not bounded by any law, any treaty, any stipulation. They will do what they want as long as they have the power to do so. So I'm sorry about this Trinidadian man who lost his life. He probably was innocent, just like those Venezuelan fishermen were more than likely innocent. But they are trying to ramp up and preparing to go after Venezuela, just like they're planning on going after Cuba. So what happens, right, when an empire is in its dying throes, right? They start to go engage in military conflicts as a way of, shoring up its borders, conquering more territory. That's why earlier, Trump was talking about going after Greenland. He wants to annex Greenland from Canada, right? You heard that conversation. We see this in many of the historical empires, and sometimes they reach a little bit too far. Just like the Romans at the Battle of Adrianople, when the emperor got killed, they went to fight the barbarians, and it was a little bit too much, and they lost, and they collapsed on themselves. Or when the British tried to take the Suez Canal from the Egyptians, and they lost, and the British Empire started to fall apart after that. Whenever these empires are in their late stage, they go on these ridiculous military ventures. The Soviets in Afghanistan. I could go on and on and on if I wanted to, but this is just another sign that the U.S.'s days are numbered. Right? We don't know when it'll collapse. I don't know if it's probably gonna be tomorrow. It may not be next year, but within our lifetimes, I do see the hegemony of the United States collapsing. And then once the rest of the world abandons the petrodollar, they'll really be in the shit. So they want to secure as many oil prices as possible. They never think about this. Whenever they talk about narco terrorism and drug trafficking, they don't bomb Colombians because Colombia is a U.S. ally. They don't bomb Colombia. Yeah, they send a few. They talk tough with the cartels in Mexico. They don't really do nothing. Whenever they talk about, we're going to protect human rights and, we're going to protest against homosexuality. But one of the most dangerous places to be a gay is Saudi Arabia. You never hear them say anything negative about Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia is a U.S. ally, and Saudi Arabia has one of the worst human rights records, okay, in the world. But yet that vitriol is never directed towards the Saudis, because the Saudis, the Israelis, the Colombians are all U.S. allies. People got to be aware that they are trying to provoke a war with Venezuela. And that's it. The thing is, the Venezuelan people are armed. They have trained militias. So I believe that the United States will do what they always do, shock and awe from the air. I don't know how long they could sustain a land occupation. They weren't able to do so in Iraq. They weren't able to do so in Afghanistan. They weren't able to do so in Vietnam. So I kind of figure I know how this is going to turn out. It's not going to turn out well. I'll leave it there.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Sobering. For sure. Jacadero, what say you to it?
What a nightmare of a situation. Very, very horrific situation to be a part of. The U.S.'s issue with Venezuela, it just doesn't start this year. It doesn't start last year. This has been years and years and decades and decades. And, from Hugo Chavez to currently Nicolas Maduro, and the U.S. has had an issue with Venezuela, and now they're using the Venezuela situation to target the Caribbean. One of the elders towards the end of the last clip, said that CARICOM needs to ask for or call upon an immediate meeting. For those that are unfamiliar, CARICOM is the governing body of the Caribbean islands. The current chair or the current leader of CARICOM is the Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness, but it was up until July of this year. It was coincidentally, ironically, it was Guyana's president. I got to give him his respect because I love saying his name, Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali. I just love saying it because I feel like the Guyanese people, they have one of the coolest Caribbean accents. Buana, don't get offended, man. But I digress. When he said that the CARICOM needs to get on top of this, CARICOM is the same political governing body that's allowing this Haiti situation to get to where it is. Again, I'm not a politician, but I feel like they can do a better job. CARICOM was one of the first groups after Kenya said that they will take hold and of being the police in the island nation. And CARICOM said, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll add in additional individuals. Bahamas said that they'll add in police officers. Suriname said that they'll add in police officers, and Guyana said that they will do the same. So it's just, what a horrific situation, because you would think that your governing body, the political party for the Caribbean, would have its best interests in this. And you never know. You have no idea. I hope Andrew Holness takes this matter seriously and looks up and realizes, just to give you guys an idea, Turks and Caicos in the Caribbean island, every single month they have guns being brought into the country. PBS did a recent study. Yes, the PBS that plays those kids shows. They did a recent study back in 2024, and they found that 90% of the murders that go on in Turks and Caicos were linked to gang conflicts and illegal firearms. And a majority of those illegal firearms were brought in from the United States. Again, this is key. If that individual pan multicultural, whatever his name was, if he thinks for a second that U.S. involvement is not as big as a factor as maybe we like to say, or we're being victims, Turks and Caicos, who a lot of individuals in the West consider honeymoon destinations, has such a violent crime epidemic. And a direct link to that is the United States. Again, monthly, the customs agents of the Royal Police Force of Turks and Caicos is stopping visitors from the United States from bringing guns and ammunition into the country. The Caribbean is such a complex issue that, again, it's because of the United States directly. Koku had brought up, Grenada being invaded. This is a thing that current Prime Minister, I think his name is Dickon Mitchell, I believe. Yeah. He was and still is a great student of Maurice Bishop. I really like Dickon Mitchell, and I'm sure that, he has a big headache on his hands, because you have a situation where you're in CARICOM, which Guyana is in CARICOM. Venezuela is not part of CARICOM. So you've got to almost have the side of Guyana. But then you also know that the U.S. is trying to do everything that they can to have hegemony, aka just top leadership in the Caribbean. And so they're going to war with Venezuela. And you, as Grenada, you have no issue with Venezuela. As a matter of fact, you're like, why should I have an issue? But, they're forcing Dickon Mitchell's hand. What a nightmare of a situation for the Caribbean. Again, multiculturalism or pansexual, whatever it is that you call yourself, pay attention to this. This is not something that you should be saying, Black immigrants are just saying these things to get to our country. And again, I'm moving Mr. Pan culturalism, so I don't have my books currently with me, but one of the figures that you said, African Americans en masse are not leaving, they didn't leave at any given point to other countries. If I can remember right, Liberia during the time of Abraham Lincoln, African Americans left to Liberia. I believe the number was like 35,000 in like a 4 to 5 year period, 35,000. So whatever en masse means for you, I would like to think that 30,000 plus is a mass number, but I digress. What a nightmare of a situation. And again, Trump's military, tried to start a war with Venezuela, and having the Caribbean get involved. Somebody's family member was literally blown up. And one last thing, because of what just happened with that family member getting blown up, again, they were either fishing or whatever, just minding their own business. The head of the U.S.'s Caribbean Navy or Caribbean military, that guy stepped down, I think 2 days ago. And usually that's like a 3-year position. That guy, and it's a brother, by the way, guys, that guy stepped down. And Pete Hegseth, the current Secretary of War for the United States, didn't say anything. It was almost as if he wanted this to happen. Again, for those that are listening and have opposing ideologies of Pan-Africanists, just know that the U.S.'s intervention into other people's issues, it causes so much of a grief to the rest of the world, and thus you're getting those immigrants in your country. So for you to say, why aren't you going back to your country? Turks and Caicos on the daily have guns and ammunition brought into the country from you guys. I digress.
Yeah, that's why, and I appreciate that. That's why when I heard the snarky remark of like you guys claim, ain't no claim, my boy. It's happening right now in front of us. Um, with that said, I see Cheryl drop. So let me go to Buana. Buana, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to all of it?
Coco, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's a lot of things on the table right now, a whole lot of things. So I could try to start with where all the brothers' perspectives are. So the brother talk, Jacadero mentioned Turks and Caicos. So Turks and Caicos is an interesting island. We call that like a family island of the Bahamas. And you mentioned all the guns that's coming in. There was a prime minister of Turks and Caicos. His name is Michael Missick. When Michael Missick was running that territory as an independent country, he was trying to break away from British rule. The economy of Turks and Caicos was clicking. I mean, really and truly, it was turning over money, hand and fist. The problems that Turks and Caicos currently have, they didn't have that when Michael Missick was in office because a lot of investment was coming into that country based on him being in power. Then he got married to Lisa Ray, the lady from the Players Club, the actress, and it all fell to shit. So the British went back and took back over that territory. All of a sudden, guns coming into Turks and Caicos. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. So then we mentioned, what we mentioned? What's the next country? Let's deal with Venezuela. Okay, so Venezuela is an interesting place. Off the coast of Guyana, very close, have a good relationship. But Venezuela has oil, as Black Steel mentioned before. And the leader of the United States right now is a gangster. What do gangsters do? Gangsters gangster other people's stuff. So Donald Trump currently right now is an extremely unpopular president. Very unpopular among certain people, not everyone. But he's an unpopular president. What brings people together? When you win wars. Now, Venezuela is a soft target, of course, and it's unfortunate that he is going to displace Maduro in Venezuela. He's going to get rid of him because he has the power to do that, the finances and the power to do that. But when he does that, what's going to happen is it's going to create a narrative because it's going to destabilize not only Venezuela, but other countries around Venezuela in South America. When he also does that, you're going to cause a lot of the South American countries to come together more than they have before, against the United States, incursion into other people's business. And that's going to create massive kind of instability. And it's going to touch the United States, whether they want to admit that or not, because of the proximity. So there are going to be a whole lot of unintended consequences because of this person who only believes in his own ego is going to create a narrative that is going to have massive unintended consequences. You think that immigrants are in your country right now? Wait until they destabilize Maduro. Then you going to really have a problem on your hands, Mr. Pan Mulattoism, who have a problem with immigrants, even though America is a country of immigrants. Needless to say. Also, Guyana, which is very close to Trinidad and Tobago, has oil as well. So you don't only want Venezuelan oil, you really want oil in that territory. It's what they call, I forget what the term is right now, but white man's burden. It's a proper term, but The United States think the Caribbean and South America
Manifest
is their
destiny.
manifest destiny. That's what it is. So they think that the Caribbean and South America is the backyard of America, and in the backyard you are able to pilfer and take all the fruits and vegetables, all the things that you believe is yours, out of the backyard and bring it into your house. This is historically what's been done. Historically, what's been done. But even though you have the ability to conquer lands, you may not have the ability to maintain the lands that you conquer over. So even though you may kill Maduro and put in one of your puppet uh, premiers or prime ministers of that nation, the people have to get behind him. Right now, the people are behind Maduro, what you want to or not. So even if you put a person who you want to in charge of Venezuela, that leadership is going to be short lived. It's the same scenario of Haiti. When they put Haitian puppet leaders in there, what do the Haitian people do? They get them out of the paint, and you could destabilize that economy as well. And then you have Haitians showing up at inside your borders, and you get vexed at that scenario. But you created that scenario. You created that scenario, and then the people who don't know better, the rank and file Americans, some Americans who don't understand American politics, say, "Well, why are all these people flooded in here?" Well, you kill their economy, and you take all their economy back to the United States. They come in search of their economy back. They want their markets back. But if you take the economy and you put it into America, the Caribbean people and the Venezuelan or South American people say, "Well, you have stolen our economy. What do we do next?" Of course, we come in looking for our economy. And the people in the United States who don't know, say, "Well, why are y'all showing up on our borders? We don't want y'all here because y'all don't understand international politics and how that works." But when they elect gangsters, this is what gangsters do. This is what gangsters do, and everybody upset about it. So don't elect gangsters to lead your nation, and maybe these things can't happen. But it's unfortunate. I feel sorry for the Trinidadian brothers who got unalive. This is an unfortunate situation. It's unfortunate what's going to eventually happen and the direction we're going in right now. I don't. I really have to throw up my hands because I don't have an answer for it. And if I say what the real solution is, they're gonna ban Koku channel. They'll ban, and I don't want that to happen. So me personally, I would just leave it there, just to be. I want to err on the side of safety because I want this channel to continue. I'll leave it there.
I appreciate that, Buana. Just for Afro Native World, uh, the Turks and Caicos, we call them Turks Islanders, and the history of them is interesting. They used to be under the Bahamas, and then they went under Jamaica. No, they used to be under. Let me see. There was under Jamaica. Jamaica went for independence. It was under us. We went for independence. They went back to the crown. But if you ever go or look into the Turks Islanders, you'll realize a lot of their heroes are Bahamian heroes, like Frank Rutherford and all them. They have them up in schools and stuff. Our flag is prevalent in their country, so they're basically like Bahamians. Like Buana said, we consider them like the family islands of the Bahamas. Um, I appreciate that, Buana. Buana said some things that's going to lead me to have a comment at the end here. But first, Sister Cheryl came back. Let's hear from her. Sister Cheryl, Trump's militarization of the Caribbean. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like okay, so I hate to be like petty, but like Trump's militarization of the Caribbean, it just I, I, I don't know, because maybe this is just a learning point for me. What has Trump done that CARICOM under any other president has not done? You see what I'm saying? It's like it's almost like we're trying to create a good white person versus a bad white person when they're all in the same category. Like I don't know. It just feels like everyone, it's like when Trump gets in office, oh, all these awful things happen when all these awful things were happening the whole time. You know what I mean? That's the kind of it, cuz like this stuff isn't new. All this stuff that's going on, Venezuela and the the Caribbean and all that isn't new. CARICOM has been around. But the reason I say that to say, and just switching gears a little bit, Ghana has a U.S. military base. It's not a permanent U.S. military base, but it is, in fact, in Ghana. And from what I was looking up, it's fairly new. It came under, what was the guy's name? Ado, the president in 2018. I think I would be more concerned about that because that's something that's kind of brand new, and I think that that's very, because I mean prior to 2018, Ghana didn't have any U.S. military base, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe I'm changing the subject a little too much. I just Southcom and CARICOM have always been a thing. I think for us, but Ghana is like major, even though it's not a permanent military base. That's kind of scary to me. But I don't know.
Appreciate that, Sister Cheryl. I just want to say that things have happened in the Caribbean, but this is a little bit different. You have a standing army in the midst of the Caribbean. But I want to shout out Brother Bakari and shout out Kofi. I hope now, I hope now we as a collective of black folks will learn to kick the white dick out of our mouth sometimes. And I say that in that harsh way because I really hope we get it from now on. So in the recent election, we spent a lot of time arguing about if Kamala Harris is black, this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, the other person who we know is white man at that, who has a racist history when you go back to the Central Park Five, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Throughout the years, even ran on a kind of ran on a racist program of "Make America Great Again" and all the rhetoric that went on, and we still found time. Not me personally, but those of us around found time to argue if Kamala Harris is black and therefore if she's worthy to be, to get your vote. So this guy comes into power, and as Buana labels him, gangsters do what gangsters do. But we had the opportunity for this fucking gangster not to be in power. We talked all kind of things about how he can't do this, how he can't do that. Look, he's doing every damn thing he feels to do. Whether his approval rating is high or low, he's doing what he feels to do. He just let this guy out of jail yesterday. I can't think of the guy's name right now. Santos. He
George
let him out of jail
Santos.
right? Yes, sir. George Santos. He let him out of jail yesterday, right? KW don't say Crouch Grab is doing everything right. Not when his warships throughout the Caribbean. And if you fuck with Venezuela, that means you're gonna fuck with Guyana next. Trinidad has oil too, by the way. Right? By the way, we have oil too, by the way. Right? Like, what's gonna happen when this guy lays waste potentially to major parts, if not the entire part of the Caribbean? And more importantly, what's gonna happen in the future when we fuck around and we let the next Trump, quote unquote Trump, take power? The one who's going to go that much more further than this guy currently went. We got to start to think, man. We got to start to think. The white man is our enemy. We should never, 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 right, be voting for this white man. The only time when we're supposed to be voting for a white man, that's the unfortunate time in America where they make us have to choose between the lesser of two evils, as they call it. Then that's when the conundrum starts. We got to vote for some white guy. Let's vote for the lesser of the two evils. But this guy, Trump, we knew, he told us what he was going to do before he came into power. He ran on bullshit like Haitians eating cats somewhere here in the state. Like, why the fuck would you side with this guy? Whether Kamala was black, gray, green, it didn't matter. She wasn't threatening this type of shit, harm against black people. And now here we are, our little Caribbean spot here now. It could potentially be in some turmoil here because here's the thing about invaders. Once they come, they don't ever really leave you. If you ain't got the power to get them up out of there, right? So here we are now. We could have fishermen in some waters fishing. These fuckers will bomb them out the water, kill them. We could have avoided this shit with our vote. Instead, we sat up here arguing about what he can and can't do, arguing about who's black and who ain't black. Come on, I hope we learn the fucking lesson from this now.
Koku, I disagree with you though, Koku.
Go ahead.
So it's not black people's fault that Trump is in office. It is not black people's fault that Trump is in office. It is the white European majority in the United States that put this man back in office. Black people voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. Yes, there were some outliers. There were some very vocal minorities, but for the overwhelming majority of black people voted for Kamala Harris. We did not want this to happen, and we do not hold the responsibility for putting this demon back in office after he already tried to overthrow the U.S. government back on January 6th. We didn't do this. So that's
Black Suit. You're not wrong, and I'm not gonna disagree with you. I will say though that there, like you said, there was a vocal minority, right, that probably caused people to vote the couch, right? There was those folks who said, "What can Trump do that hasn't already been done?" Right? There were those people that, you know what? And by the way, when I say we, I'm also talking about some of these Hispanic fuckers too, these Latinos and Latinas too, by the way. I will vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, this is what the fuckers doing now in Venezuela, right? So we gotta, but you see, I understand why they went with Trump because he didn't threaten them. He didn't threaten time, right? He threatened us openly. And I just would hope that in the future, we won't sit back, even though we may have voted in high numbers. I hope we wouldn't sit back and sit up here on the internet and all that talking about, well, so and such ain't really black. It doesn't even matter. She's not a white supremacist. That's the real point I'm getting at. You see? I think Kofi joined us actually, right? Kofi, how are you doing this week?
Doing good. Yeah. The first time I've heard of this, and it's happening over Venezuela, and I'm glad you said that. Venezuela is, for those who don't know, Venezuela and Guyana share a border, and I think it was Afro Native World saying he asked me something in the chat here. So I'll find it because I do want to answer him. He says, "Are the Guyanese supporting neighbor Venezuela on this issue? I know there's been a land dispute in the past. Nah, they don't. We don't care. We want our land back." So the west of Guyana and the east of Venezuela. So when Guyana was getting their independence, and Venezuela knew they were getting their independence, and it was turmoil. Venezuela took a lot of the west of Guyana, and we got like an island. Island off the coast of Guyana, and they just took all of it. So when everything was like over and done, they took the land. But Venezuela, I speak to certain Venezuelans from Venezuela, swear to God, like, no, you guys have the rest of our land. I'm like, what? So yeah, there is a dispute. We don't care. If Venezuela was to fall right now, I'm a Guyanese. I'll be happy for it, but I don't care either way. I kind of just want the land back that they took from us during independence. But you did say something very, very crucial that is very, very important. Thank you for that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not you necessarily, because you were never on the is Kamala Harris black train or whatever. But there's a lot of when we're wrong about things, people like to pretend that they never said it. You know, people try to play cleanup or pretend that they never said those things. So yeah, all these things has come to fruition because this man has said he's going to do that. Now, with that being said, you also said something was very important, like he's in international waters, quote unquote, waging war. He doesn't have an act from Congress. If you're going to go in international waters and say, well, I'm doing this, you need an act of Congress in order for you to do that. I don't understand this so-called American system where everyone knows that he's blatantly breaking the law and no one does anything. What's the use of the law then? You know what I'm saying? It's no different when, well, I mean, he did that too. Same thing in when he was going to Iran, about to bomb Iran a couple months ago. Oh yeah, I'm going to bomb Iran. Okay, this is 9/11.2.0 again. Like, you just can't go bomb Iran without without permission from Congress. You know, so he's in international waters. He bombed a quote unquote drug cartel ship. It wasn't even a ship. It was like a fishing boat, speedboat or something. And a couple of days ago, I heard that they went same waters and bombed a submarine, right? And it was 4 people on the submarine or something like that. So 2 died, 2 survived, and they have those 2 survivors in custody right now. Are they going to disappear these people? Are they going to put them in Guantanamo Bay? There's international rules and laws, rules of engagement when you conduct this type of activity in international law. So already this is a lawsuit. So I do commend and I'm glad that the Carib people of the Caribbean and Antilles, they're coming together saying, look, you are international waters. We ain't got nothing to do with what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? I think they need to go to the UN. All the representatives of all their respective countries in the UN need to come together and push the United States and be like, you are breaking international law. And Ghana might be next, but Ali has a pretty good, relationship with United States last time I heard. But when that speech that he did in the UN a while ago, he was, it was a good speech. He shout out to some African countries and African nations, saying he's an Indian coolie, he's a coolie boy and everything, but it's a very smart man. He's a very smart man, and I respect him because he gives a lot of respect to Black African people in Guyana, right? But I'm saying that to say that he's probably not going to be in Trump's good graces because, like many other people from Bahamas, Barbados, and they gave their speeches there at the UN, they were talking about the war crimes the United States has been engaged. So they don't like that, but I think with most of the world leaders in solidarity about what's going on there in Palestine, I hope the rest of the world will be with the Caribbean people, from Latin America. I hope we get Spain on our side, we get England on our side, Portugal on our side, aka Brazil or whatever, to just be like, hey, look, and just push back on what's going on. So I'm glad that our people are nipping this in the bud to say, hey, look, you cannot do this. You are breaking international law. But I just hope I just hope that what they're doing in these efforts will bear some good news and some form of resistance in some way, but only time will tell. That's pretty much it.
Topia, let me say this though, man. I appreciate your commentary. If the line couldn't be drawn at genocide, then it's not going to be drawn at violent international law or democracy or anything, right? So one of the, Kofi mentioned about, people who chose to sit home in the election. One of the major number 1 issues for Democratic voters was United States support for Israel. And it showed that Kamala Harris could have picked up at least 3 swing states had she come out with a strong campaign against supporting Israel and supplying them weapons, and they chose not to. This was the Democrats' election to lose. And I want to, because today, I went to the protest, right? Today. Everybody's focused on Trump, Trump, Trump. It is not only Trump. I want that to be clear. The Republicans control all three branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Right. So whatever he does, the checks and balances, quote unquote, that were in place to limit the power of the president, there's no more checks and balances no more. All right. Everything that was created by the so-called framers of the Constitution that was to limit the power of the executive branch, judicial branch, all the other branches, it's not there anymore. It's no longer there. So he's definitely in violation of international law. He's definitely in violation of U.S. law. Extrajudicial murder in international waters. For any other president, this would be a scandal, right? But we're living in a different time. We're living in the Renaissance, in a white supremacist Renaissance, right? The likes of which we haven't seen since the end of Jim Crow. And the gloves are off. There's no more decorum. It's I'm white and I say so now. And I think we have to learn to how do we adjust? How do we combat this in our new reality? Right? Because we're not in a reality of where we can appeal to the international community, United Nations. That would have worked in Gaza, and it didn't. International community, they spoke up, they tried to put sanctions, and everything got blown away. So now, how do we reconfigure and how do we deal with this new reality that we're faced with? I don't have the answers, but I would love to hear some people what they say.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what the answer is, but there is no answer because we're a superpower. I think what you're saying, Black Steel. Thank you. You're 100% correct. If a bunch of people being genocided over there is happening, no one's really gonna care about a quote unquote potential, crimes against people of the Caribbean and South America. I totally get that. I think what we need to do is pretty much, when I say appeal to, other nations, in hopes, we're no world leaders here, in hopes if we ally ourselves with, because, they hate Donald Trump, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? If you ally yourself with these particular people, they're not just going against Bahamas, they're not Jamaica, Guyana, Antigua, St. Lucia, Grenada, whatever. They're going against a whole global community, which was the purpose for the UN in the first place. Everyone on one accord on one thing, respecting international law. So that's what I'm kind of hoping. I mean, Trump said he was going to invade Panama. He kind of let go on that. He's going to invade Greenland. He's going to invade Switzerland. And I'm thinking, yeah, he wants to do that. He keeps saying that. I haven't heard him say it in a long while because why? There's a lot of European pushback on that. So I think unfortunately, we're going to have to rely on the international community when it comes to that because, hey, the enemy is my friend.
Have you heard of the Hague Invasion Act, Kofi?
It sounds familiar, but I'm not too.
So this is around Bush 2, right? George W. Bush, around the Iraq War. So the Hague is where the International Criminal Court is located. So he's set up to where no U.S. serviceman could be indicted by the International Criminal Court. And if a U.S. serviceman is captured by the International Criminal Court, they would go through any means necessary to secure their release. Basically, they're saying if a U.S. serviceman is committing war crimes and he is brought before the International Tribunal for committing war crimes, we will invade the fucking Netherlands, The Hague, where the World Court is located. They're willing to go to war with the world to prevent American soldiers from being held accountable for committing war crimes. And this was back during George W. Bush, who was a lot nicer and less openly racist. I'm not saying he wasn't racist, who wasn't as openly racist as DJT. So look what happened. Look at the uncharted waters we're in right now, to where George W. Bush is looking like a better statesman than Donald Trump. We're in the world of the surreal at this point.
My question always is, because I'm not a law professor. I'm not a law professor. I want to know what mechanisms are in place, and I think second time around, I guess they made sure of that. What mechanisms are in place that if the Trump disobeys any?
Can I say something?
what happens. And I know it's like, oh, his own party will have to see if he committed crimes, but yeah, it's your own party. Like there should be some other mechanism or system that I don't know, because what's the rule of having laws is not enforced? That's basically what I'm saying.
Just to add something quickly. Um, when I was talking about the voting thing, KW7 mentioned it would have to be 100% vote. You know what? Then let it be 100%. But my point is, at least if Trump had won, still, at least we would have been on the same mindset of, you know what, this guy is a danger. But because we're all mixed up about whether he's a danger or not, that's problematic for us, and that plays into how we can come together against this force. And again, like you guys, I don't have the answer. I don't know how we come together against this force, which is why you don't want this kind of force and power to begin with. If you can help it, don't let these type of madmen have the reins until we could work out our problems. Because someone mentioned to me in the chat, I can't remember who it was now. We got to work. We have to grow some balls and stamp against our bully. Absolutely, we ain't there right now. Militarily, we can't stamp against the bully. So we have to coast and build ourselves up until we can stand up against this bully. And so we don't want the bully to have ships all throughout the Caribbean ready to attack Venezuela. Who knows if Guyana's next? Trinidad could be after. We don't know. That's the point I'm trying to make, just to be clear. I Can Fire is here. I Can Fire, how are you this week? And don't blame black women for this, by the way. I Can Fire, how are you?
Respect my host. Respect. Hey, look, man. I have the answer. And the answer have always been the answer. You feel me? I make a criticism first. We bootlicking black people is getting what we work for. Like we planted seeds that is growing right now. Most of the Caribbean don't like Rasta, don't like the words of Rastafari, nor the look of Rastafari. Right now, Africa is giving an eye on the Caribbean and black people, mostly because of Rasta. What I'm saying is, white people don't respect anything but money, not even their lives. We need to hit them where it hurts. That's the only way you can temper white people. We have been doing shit wrong. We have been doing stuff wrong. The Caribbean should already be a part of the African Union. But the Caribbean itself, including stupid Jamaicans, are rejecting Africa and have been rejecting Africa. You feel me? Jamaica itself had a place in the African Union through Haile Selassie and denied the position. What I'm trying to say is United States wants a lot of deals in Africa. They want a lot of raw materials. They want to progress their shit, to make more weapons, to kill us. That's our leverage. That is our leverage. We have we by hating on Africans and disrespecting our color and our hair makes it that cause a rift between Africans and us in the West, and it slows down progress. You feel me? And what happened is Africans are making deals without our consideration, without us in their consideration. You feel me? We are the cause of that. We are the cause of that because we need to it's our raw material. It's our Africa. It's our Africa. You need to own it. Africans can't tell you Africans. You have to own Africa. You feel me? And the Arabs over there owning Africa. The Africans even stupidly saying they are Africans. The white man down in South Africa, he claimed goddamn Africa. And some Africans are even saying they are. Nobody can tell who is African. So we black people know that we black come from Africa. We need to demand Africa. And Africa will respect us for demanding our place in Africa. And when they are doing, and we need to display ourselves in a way that when they are doing business with whoever, we have already told them that these people are trying to destroy us. And so Africans could do like this. If you try to hurt anybody in Grenada, Bahamas, Barbados, any Black America, any one of them, you can't do business with us. And we will sabotage any American business in Africa. We will travel east, west, north, south, and make sure you can't get nothing in Africa. And that's how we can be safe in the Caribbean, in America's backyard. Thank you. All we need to do is get off the high horse. Sorry, go ahead.
Koku,
That's very smart.
Koku, I just wanted to address something you said about defending themselves. If a bunch of illiterate goat herders in Afghanistan, Iraq can defend themselves successfully, if a bunch of starving rice farmers in Vietnam can defend themselves, if a former slave like in the Haitian Revolution are able to defend themselves, we can defend ourselves too. But it's not a matter of skill; it's a matter of will. So the economic things that Icon Fire was mentioning, those would all be well and good in a sane world. But we're in an insane world at this point. We're in a world where the president of the United States is talking about invading his own allies. You know, you think they care about economic boycott? They just bomb you from the air and take whatever's left from your dead bodies, and there's no international community.
Yeah, let me reason with you in this manner, right? Let me reason with you in this manner. We know we are dealing with a superpower that considered itself as the superest power, right? We know that. It is never safe. It is never an option for us as ordinary black people, formerly slaves, to go up in arms against these people. They would enjoy that. But what I'm trying to say to you is soft power is the ultimate power. You feel me? They cannot make weapons without cobalt, coltan, all these rare earth minerals. They cannot make weapons without it. So what I'm trying to say is Africa is the only place that can develop itself enough to withstand any country in the world, any continent in the world. That's our only option as black people. You have to consider that. Don't talk about we need to get you first of all, if any one of us in the Caribbean try to be friends with like the likes of Russia, you feel me? Before anything start coming to you, you start getting destroyed. You feel me? Because they even know flight routines and all that. Anybody goes anywhere in Russia and from the Caribbean, they fucking know. You understand? So it's like we have to understand who we're dealing with. We need to deal with Africa. That's it. We need to get Africa to sabotage them in our defense. That is it. I don't see I don't see no other way. There is no way you gonna turn Jamaica into a Vietnam and all that. You feel me? The Haitians need so much security right now. Only Africa can secure us, bro. Same with Black Americans. Only Africa can keep safe. Just because Africa is the wealth of the world. That's the only way we can withstand it. America is like a wounded bear now. They they like a wounded bear. You can't like face them. You feel me? When the bear is wounded, you stuck them and they wounded and you didn't kill him. You just rear it. That's what American. They bleeding out. You feel me? So you have to be careful. You only can deal with them on this level, where African leaders, where we as Caribbean people, selfish little bitches that is on some goddamn high horses. We have to go deal with our African people. We need to go in their meetings. We need to be there all the time. That type of stuff. You feel me? How come there is no? We as Caribbean, we running all type of cruise ship running through the Caribbean, and we can't come. We haven't come together yet and bought a ship. About a cruise ship and have our own cruise ship. I mean, look how much islands, look how much billions running through it's selfishness and stupidity, and people living in luxury thinking that America is not going to come for you. That's what it is. And we get caught disrespecting Africa, keeping Africa poor, and withholding our education, our Western technology from Africa over the years. That's what we've been doing. You see me? No, we don't have a ship lane to Ghana and Western Africa. How? Why we ain't have a ship? Like the CARICOM can just say all islands put together and we buy a cruise ship. $4 billion. Huh? A $4 billion cruise ship. We can't afford that. You feel me? And cruise our people on the African shores and get money for it and have real transfer. And so we can. Why we don't have gold mining? Why a Caribbean country don't have? Because we don't want to. We Christianity has damaged us so much. We don't even want to be rich. We want white people to be richer than us. The gold is right there on Ghana coast, and none of us have a gold mine in Ghana. We have, hold on, the Christians have each other grabbing gold chains over here. We kings, people who own countries of gold, they have us over here grabbing chains and chopping off each other's hand for gold. Huh? Can you imagine that? And just because we don't like our color and we are ashamed of our Africa, that's why it come to this, where we don't even have no defense. First of all, none of us is considering Africa as a defense. We are considering to go find some type of European or China and Russia. But of course, China can do something. But China not gonna fight. We not there. We not fighting people right now. You feel me? We can. You feel me? But I don't think we supposed to go that way. I don't think we supposed to go that way for people to pick us off and shit. You feel me? I think we should go the way we go and integrate in Africa and teach Africans and learn from Africans and grow Africa. You feel me? That's how we can do it. We can't do it no other way. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's. I
so
mean, what I can saying is not wrong, but again, we not there, and I don't know how long it's going to take us to get there. And a part of getting there is to have the understanding that this white man is our enemy. We got to come together against this white man. So we got to do what we got to do amongst each other to defend ourselves against this white man. That's exactly what's being discussed, even politically. The way you vote in your home countries in the Caribbean, the way you vote in America, it has to be towards the understanding that that's my enemy over here. I gotta play this little political game until I could build myself up, until we can build Africa up to be that super power, that supercontinent that protects all of us. But that's a ways off. We got to play the game in the meantime. Buana, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, so I just want to mention some new developments that's happening in the Caribbean and Africa, because some of the brothers may not be know or be unaware. So the Grenadian Prime Minister right now is engaged in talks with Ghana. He's looking at the scientific industry inside Ghana to create greater links. It was all over the papers, well, in the Caribbean and in Africa, I guess. But look up Grenada and also Antigua. Antigua is another territory where the prime minister was establishing greater relationships in terms of business dealings and things like that. And Prime Minister Mia Mottley from Barbados. So these things are happening in between the Caribbean and Africa. Now, when it comes to development, the development is slow. I understand because 90% of the Caribbean are African people. So these things should be self-evident. You're supposed to been doing having these kinds of relationships with African territories. I understand that. But at least, I mean, you gotta start somewhere. I mean, I might be a I might be a cheap way out, but you gotta start somewhere.
You're right, Guana. And host, excuse me here. You're right. I forgotten the good part. You feel me? Of course, the Caribbean is moving, especially the Eastern Caribbean is moving towards Africa, and a lot of things is happening. Because Miss Mir Motley went to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam opening. So she was mingling with all the heads. She's always mingling with the heads of Africa. And that's what disappoint me with the rest of the bourgeoisie Caribbean people. Like they don't want to be there. They have a choice, but they don't take these choices. You understand? Go ahead, Garner.
Yeah, so I understand. I listen, man. Listen, the problem when Icon Fire say, when Icon Fire say, if Africa was to decide to say if you harm the Caribbean, then our contracts can be rendered null and void. That is very smart, by the way. That's very smart and very clever. But I also see Black Steel voice in the back of my head too, because Black Steel voice saying a gangster don't care about contract. A gangster can just pull a gun and you can take your shit. If you say if you say yo, oh, we're gonna do this by the Lord, we're gonna do nah, the gangster can just pull up on your territory and take it from you. Needless to say, needless to say, I'll say this. The other alternative option on the table too is if other countries decide to leave the American dollar and go back to either natural resources or the gold reserve. That going see then I gonna create a real situation. I can create a real situation in the world. I don't know if because Gaddafi was trying to actually do that, and you see what happened to him. But I say that you gotta have some balls in the world. If this gangster acting like a gangster, you gotta pull up your socks and act like a gangster too. Really and truly. So if you come off the U.S. currency and go to the gold or go to the natural resources, that could put the American dollar into a tailspin. Needless to say, needless to say, I see that yes, developments are happening. They're happening slower, and I would agree with Icon Fire when he say that these things should already be happening. They should been happening. Be happening where you have relationships and engagement with Africa. But at least something happening. I got fire, man. Something happening. But I understand where you're coming from,
Yeah,
though. I understand.
even Afrozim Bank is in Barbados. That's a champion move. I first I listen. That's a paramount move because that is financial assets from Africa to the Caribbean and back. So that's great. I'm just saying it, as I said, we are not we are not socially and intimately involved with Africa enough. So we stay in their memory during contracts. Or we stay in their memory. We are so much in their thoughts and in their memories that what's going on in between between Grenada and the United States right now, Africa should be saying something already about it. You feel me? I'm just that's the what I'm trying to get to. Like we we should have, because we are a colonized people. You feel me? It's Rasta alone in the Caribbean is not colonized. That's why I don't totally blame my people because they innocent. They kind of being fooled, but it's the cockiness that's going on, and especially I don't want to mention those people, but as I'm trying to say to you is they are colonized people, and we have a duty to decolonize ourselves and decolonize the African. You feel me? We have to get black love. We have to get black love, black patriotism, black privilege in Africa. We have to give it to ourselves in the Caribbean, and we have to get it to Africa, because a lot of us don't understand what colonization is. Colonization is getting a set of people to be bad mind, to be envious, to be hateful, to be all of these wicked things. That's what a colonized people really is. Everything against what what they are, what we are. That's how I understand this colonization we under. Everything that is praise the white man and don't praise the black man. That means you can disregard his life. You can if he's dead, you can disregard it. You can slight it. And that's how we think, and we need to, as I told you, that a lot of people looking at Rasta from the outside and not looking to, we need to do love with each other, because that's what gonna maintain peace and guarantee our um the ultimate love and the ultimate self-defense. You feel me? And we need to teach it to Africa. We need to bring it to Africa, where Africa look at the black skin and recognize the black skin, and cherish the black skin and the hair. You feel me? All these things is essential towards economics. If a people don't understand, these things are essential. You feel me? Look at most of the people who not colonized. They all do business with each other. So that's what we need to reclaim. We need to reclaim the love for each other and wanting each other to get rich, wanting to see each other in classy positions without being jealous. All these things we need to do. You feel me? And that's the only way we can get
Okay.
Africa.
You're
Yeah.
filibustering now. We get it, brother. We get it. We get it. The point is that we're not there yet, but that's what we need to get to. We get it, brother. We get it. All right. There's other things I want to do before the time runs out. All right. Did everyone speak on that topic just now? I'm gonna take that as a yes. Let's go to the last topic of the night. which is more about Trump again. You can hang around and help discuss this topic as well.